San Francisco, 1980s. The city was booming with modernity. Glass towers rose quickly, catching the golden shimmer of the bay. Progress was everywhere, but in the middle of it all stood a building that refused to follow the times. The Aurora Tower. Built in 1927, it was once a symbol of prestige. Wealthy businessmen, lawyers, and families of name once called it home. But the decades weren't kind. While the neighborhood flourished, the Aurora Tower aged badly. Cracks in the marble floor, a stale smell of dust and damp air, lights flickering constantly. And inside its heart lay something darker, the elevator. An old machine with folding iron doors, a stained mirror, and a panel of buttons that sparked faintly when pressed. Tenants whispered that it was cursed. People swore they saw a man inside, around 60, pale-skinned in a worn gray suit, his tie loose, and always holding a black briefcase that seemed impossibly heavy. He rarely spoke. He simply appeared, and those who found themselves sharing a ride with him often weren't seen again. Police files mentioned disappearances. Journalists wrote sensational pieces, but there was never evidence, just stories, overlapping testimonies, and trembling voices. What made it worse was that the man with the briefcase wasn't confined to the tower. A handful of people reported seeing him elsewhere, at a trolley stop on Market Street, standing motionless, slowly walking through foggy alleys at night, or sitting silently in diners staring at nothing before vanishing without a trace. But he always came back to the Aurora Tower, always back to the elevator. This is the story of the victims. Victim 1. The Landlady. Margaret Lewis, 70 years old, widowed, was looking for a small apartment she could afford. Rent was steep across San Francisco, but she had heard the Aurora Tower still had vacancies at a suspiciously low price. On a cold November morning, Margaret entered the lobby. The air smelled of mildew and dust, her cane tapping sharply against the floor. The elevator doors were already open, waiting, and inside stood the man in the gray suit. He didn't speak. He only tilted his head almost politely, as if inviting her in. Margaret smiled nervously and stepped inside. The old mirror reflected her fragile body, but beside him, the man's reflection looked sharper, too solid, as though the glass captured him more vividly than reality itself. Witnesses later claimed the elevator didn't stop at any of the 12 official floors. Instead, the pointer moved to an unmarked 13th floor. Margaret was never seen again. Years later, urban explorers swore they caught the glimpse of an old woman's silhouette in the mirror of the elevator, seated, trembling, staring at the doors that never opened. Victim 2. The Executive. Claire Whitmore, 28, ambitious and sharp, worked at an investment firm considering the Aurora Tower for redevelopment. It was a rainy afternoon when she walked in, clipboard in hand. Her heels echoed across the empty lobby. The elevator waited, and inside, the man with the briefcase. He moved his hand as if to press a button for her. Claire, uneasy but professional, entered. That night, 2 guards on duty decided to review the tower's security footage. The building still had old, half-functioning cameras wired to a central monitor. What they saw disturbed them deeply. On the tape, Claire enters the elevator alone. The man is nowhere in sight. Yet Claire turns her head as if acknowledging someone beside her and forces a nervous smile. Moments later, she starts to panic. She pounds on the doors, screaming. She's suddenly pulled backward, though nothing visible is in the recording. The tape cuts when the number 13 flashes on the panel. Her clipboard was later found in the lobby. The last word scribbled in pen was door. Victim 3, the skeptic. Robert Miller, 32, a print shop worker, loved mocking urban legends. One drunken night, daring his friends, he stormed into the Aurora Tower yelling, "Come on, briefcase man, show me the 13th floor!" Witnesses outside said the doors closed with Robert still laughing. Minutes later, homeless men nearby heard frantic pounding, not from the elevator itself, but from inside the building's walls, screaming, clawing, desperate sounds. When the elevator finally descended, it was empty. Weeks later, maintenance workers inspecting the elevator shaft found something chilling. Deep scratch marks gouged into the concrete as if bare hands had tried to climb out. Victims for the 3 students. Perhaps the most infamous case involved 3 college students, Daniel, Karen, and Michael. Armed with a VHS camcorder, they entered the tower late one Friday night. Their first trip was harmless, graffiti on the walls, mocking the myths, daring each other to get closer to the elevator. But the second visit, they were braver. They wanted proof. The recovered tape begins with the 3 stepping into the elevator, laughing. Karen playfully pushes all the buttons. None of them respond. Then, without warning, the 13th floor button lights up on its own. The mood shifts. The laughter dies. The camera shakes. Michael tries to pry they open, but they won't budge. The tape distorts with static. For a few seconds, the screen is snow. When the image stabilizes, the mirror inside the elevator shows a 4th figure. The man with the briefcase, standing silently behind them. The footage ends there. The elevator returned minutes later, empty. The VHS camera lay on the lobby floor, tape still recording static. None of the students were ever found. The man outside the tower. What unsettles researchers is that the briefcase man was occasionally spotted beyond the Aurora Tower. A trolley driver claimed he saw an older man in a gray suit weeding at a stop. When he glanced again, the man was gone. A waitress swore the same figure sat in her diner late at night, placing a heavy briefcase beside him. He didn't order anything, didn't speak. After an hour, he stood and walked out, but the door never opened or closed. He was simply gone. 2 policemen patrolling near Chinatown said they glimpsed the man down an alley. When they approached, he vanished into the fog like smoke. It was as though he roamed the city, searching, but the Aurora Tower always pulled him back. Always back to the elevator, the guards, and the tapes. By 1986, after the students' disappearance, authorities were pressured to investigate more seriously. 2 guards were assigned to watch the elevator's live camera feed at night. On their 3rd shift, it happened. As they stared at the monitor, They both swore they saw the man in the gray suit inside the elevator, standing still, staring directly at the camera. But then they rewound the tape moments later and the elevator appeared empty the whole time. One guard quit the next day, saying he couldn't sleep, haunted by the man's gaze. The other refused to ever discuss what he had seen, telling colleagues only, "Some things aren't meant to be recorded." The tower today. The Aurora Tower stands abandoned. The electricity was cut long ago, yet neighbors insist they still hear the elevator operating in the dead of night, gears grinding, doors clanging. Explorers claim the mirror sometimes shows people who aren't there, reflections frozen in terror. Some say they've heard a briefcase drop onto the cabin's metal floor, though the elevator was empty.
And every so often someone reports seeing a man in a gray suit waiting outside the building. Always the same, pale, holding his briefcase. Step closer, and he's gone. The question lingers 4 decades later. Who is the man with the briefcase? And perhaps more terrifying, what is inside it?